Hey everybody, I wanted to hop on here to create a video in response to a comment that I received on one of my other videos. So I want to read the comment and then I will respond. The comment says, "These times are so trying, and as empaths, we too easily pick up on the pulse of the nation and can be pulled in, mistaking everyone else's feelings for our own. Would love to see a reading or advice on how to stay true to ourselves." So I love this comment. This is a really good comment, actually. And it's very true that right now it is much more difficult for us to keep our center, for us to stay really tuned into ourselves and making decisions from that place of groundedness. There are a few things that I want to share about this because this is not, I would say, a simple one answer topic. The first thing I want to say is that many empaths I know have actually been created through trauma. So being an empath can actually be a trauma response. And it's a trauma response because being an empath it's like a heightened sense of intuition when it comes to what other people are feeling. And we do that as children, like most children are empaths anyway, where they're tuned into other people's emotions. And when we're aware of how another person is feeling, then it's much easier for us to know how to approach that person or to relate to that person. And so that empathic ability can actually become even more heightened for a child or a person who was raised in a situation where for survival's sake, they had to be more tuned into the energy around them. It's like walking on eggshells in a way. When we are children, from the ages of 0 to 8, we are primarily emotional. So trauma and wounding actually originates in the emotional body. Everything after that, after the age of 8, because the age of 8 is when the frontal lobe of the brain starts to activate, which gives us the ability to rationalize and to make choices. We can kind of talk ourselves out of being traumatized. But that doesn't even fully develop until, for women, mid-20s, and for men, late 20s. So you have mental development all through those years. Emotional development is foundational, it's primary. That's where actual trauma originates. And trauma is stress without resolve. So when we are experiencing something in our childhood, so say that you are experiencing an emotion like fear, for instance. When you are feeling that fear, because all emotion has a cycle where it needs to move all the way through in order to be released. So fear starts to move in. And if we do not have an adult present who is mirroring to us what we're feeling, like they are acknowledging it, they're saying, "Oh, I see you're afraid. Come here, let me comfort you in your fear. This is how we move through fear." And when you're getting that assistance in processing fear, then that's how we learn how to move it through our bodies. If we don't get that, then it starts to move in, it gets stuck, and it becomes stress without resolve. And in that, the psyche, in order to keep us sane, functioning, and moving forward, it will actually fragment itself. And in that fragmentation, it's like pieces of our soul can get stuck in that time-space reality where we are moving forward in life, but we are no longer whole. And another way to look at that, like from a psychological perspective, would be like these pieces of this moment sort of get broken up and compartmentalized into our subconscious or even our unconscious mind. And so then, as we move forward in life, because we live in a universal construct that wants us to be whole. And we also, we live in a world where we all are essentially one part of another whole. So we're already fragmented just as being one person broken off from the collective. There's already fragmentation there. And then in our experience of life, we just continue to fragment if we are experiencing trauma. So everything in the universe is some kind of a mirror. The universe wants us to be whole, and healing literally means to become whole. The universe will mirror back to you what you are no longer aware of about yourself. And it will continue to re-trigger and poke over and over again the original trauma in various ways in your life. And the reason it's doing that is so that you become aware, so that you can gather those pieces and bring them back to your present to make yourself whole or more whole again. Now, this is the healing work that I do with people, and there's a very valid reason why I'm sharing all of this in regards to this comment. The reason being is that the more whole you become as a person, the more you heal your emotional trauma or emotional wounds and get your power back, the more resilient you become when it comes to emotional energy in general. I used to do these sessions when I worked for a retreat company, and this session was about how to protect ourselves energetically and how to have good energetic boundaries so that we're not affected by other people's negativity or psychic attack or you name it. And what I realized over time is that the reason why we are a match to those things in the first place is because there is a part of us unhealed, fragmented, that is a match. It's a vibrational match to those things. So when we call our soul pieces back, when they do come back to us, it creates what I would call immunity, or as close to immunity as you can get. That doesn't mean that you stop tuning in to other people's emotions or that you stop becoming aware of them as an empath. But instead, it's you actually have more clarity that that's not mine, and you're not affected in the same way. It doesn't feel like it is your wound or your specific wound. So it's like, yes, it might be a collective wound, but if you heal that within yourself and you get your pieces back, it mitigates or it lessens the impact of how that feels within you. Doesn't mean you're not still affected, like I said, but it dramatically changes the response to it. And there are so many empaths that I know who get very physically affected. Like their physical body is very affected by the emotions, the energy that they pick up outside of them. And the reason for this is because, so when we talk about trauma, right, and this process of fragmentation, this happens on a somatic level, and somatic means cellular. So if any of you have heard of somatic therapy, you'll know what I mean by this, but we hold everything in our bodies. We hold everything in our cells. And we have cells that are more whole and more filled with light, I guess you could say. And then we have cells that are less filled with light and are of more a lack vibration. And that lack vibration is something that comes from woundedness. It comes from trauma. So trauma is held in our cells, in our body. And when we do this healing, the way that you go about doing that healing is actually a somatic processing. So when you're a child and you're feeling the fear, right? So the fear starts to move in, it doesn't get resolved, and so then it fragments. You have to go back into that and you have to complete the cycle. You have to release that fear that got trapped and stuck in the body by processing it now as an adult. And there are a lot of people who can help you with this. There are somatic therapists. I do this work with people where I walk people through a process to complete these cellular emotional cycles within the body, and to also do soul retrieval and reclaim those parts of us that were lost. And what that does is it transforms the cell so that the cell can actually receive more light and more of your soul or your spirit, who you are authentically. If you feel like you need assistance with this healing, like I said, I do this process with people. I can do it online. I can do it in person. This is one of the things that I'm most passionate about. When we create that wholeness again, and once you reclaim a part of yourself that was previously lost, you will not lose it again. And I will say that being an empath myself, I have done so much of this healing work, and it does work. It does help me stay more connected. It does help me stay more grounded. But that does not mean that I am not still affected. And I do still have moments that I pick up something really heavy from the collective, but instead of resisting it, well, okay, sometimes I resist it. But when I realize that, I stop resisting it, and instead I actually lean into it. Because if I'm picking something up that intensely and it's affecting me that much, it means I need to transmute it. And there are a lot of us who are transmuting, not just for ourselves, but for the collective. But it's because everything is a mirror. I am a mirror for the collective, and the collective is a mirror for me. We're all connected in this way. And so when one person integrates something, it actually integrates a piece for the whole. True resiliency, true emotional resiliency actually comes from emotional healing. And I've talked before in other videos about how the heart chakra is actually the bridge between the spiritual world and the physical world. And the heart chakra can transmute lower, denser frequencies into higher frequencies. It can also bring from the spirit world into the physical world. It can manifest things. And so the more we process our emotions and the more we complete old cycles of emotions that were trapped in the body from years and years of emotional suppression, it creates this ability within our physical body to hold so much more light and a much higher frequency. And it's that frequency, it's the heart frequency specifically, that protects us from psychic attack. Psychic attack has a specific frequency and a specific vibration. And if we are not in that vibration, it will miss us completely. But sometimes we're not aware that we are carrying these frequencies. And that's why shadow work is so important, becoming conscious, becoming aware of the self, and doing this work is so important to creating more wholeness within yourself, more energetic and spiritual protection, or immunity, really. Some practices that you can do on your own is actually dropping into the body and doing some somatic movement, which would be just intuitive movement. So it's like, what does my body want to do? You can find videos online. There's actually a woman on YouTube who does something called soma sensing. She has videos where she teaches you very simple movements and techniques to help the body come out of a state of fight, flight, or freeze, because true healing can't fully happen when we are in survival mode. So it's very important to do things and to practice things daily to calm your nervous system. And intuitive body movement is probably my number one that I would suggest. Self-awareness is huge. So when you are feeling so overwhelmed by whatever is happening externally, you have to remember to come back to yourself. And in order to really fully drop back in, it would be through body awareness. So that's my number one tip right there. I could probably talk about these things forever, but this video is already long enough for now. So maybe one day I'll teach a class on this. You guys can let me know if you're interested. But also, if you would like to work with me and do this healing work, then go to my website and book a session. I would absolutely love to work with you. And I hope you all take care of yourselves.